Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to another Red Pill Religion podcast, Red Pill Religion, where we are dedicated to the proposition that you don't have to be religious. You really don't. That does not, however, mean you get to lie about history, science, and religion or religious people. So please support our work on redpillreligion.com. There on redpillreligion.com, you will find our videos get posted daily, mostly by Oda St. Oda. Thank you so much, Oda. Love you, sweetie. Along with some work by Andrew Strutelites and John Bosco. We have occasional articles. We're interested in more. All our videos go there. Find our donation button with PayPal, Patreon, Bitcoin, and Maker support there. Also find us on Gab AI at Red Pill Religion. Find us on Maker support at Red Pill Religion. And here on YouTube, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please tell your friends, your enemies. We could use your spiritual as well as financial support. And yes, we talk to people of all religions here. In fact, an unusual circumstance today is that we essentially have, I'm completely outnumbered today. First off, we have our deist friend, Mr. Brass. Say hi to everybody, Mr. Brass.
Hello, everyone. I am Max's crony.
You are my crony indeed, and you do everything I say whenever I say it. Now drop and give me 20, Mr. Brass. No,
All right,
kidding.
you want to chat?
No, I'm just kidding. Also, our sort of spiritual, deistic, comes from a lot of different religious backgrounds and philosophical ideas. Robert, say hi to everybody, Robert.
Hello, everyone.
And also our friend White Engine, who has his own channel. Feel free to look for that and subscribe. He does consider himself more or less a Christian, but more of a secular theist, not held to any particular denomination, right?
Right.
Hey, everybody. Okay, and of course, I'm the dirty Catholic in the room, so that's me. All right, everybody. So we're going to be talking today about my very least favorite subject in all of religion. I hate the topic of creationism more than any other topic as involves science, religion, or anything else. And I guess I'll start by telling my own story that because I'm going to be hard on some creationists here, but I want them to hear it and to hear exactly what I'm saying. I don't actually care at this point in my life, having listened to many creationist debates, having read creationist tracts, having had creationist friends, including and talking to some amazingly interesting creationists, including a physicist with multiple, successful patents to his name and a very stellar scientific career, who's still convinced of the 7,000-year-old Earth anyway, and he's prepared with an armload of data as a physicist to tell me. Wonderful gentleman, no interest at all. What I told that gentleman was what I tell every single other creationist. At this point, and I think this is true for a lot of people, even if the young Earth creationists are right, and I used to even say this was when I was an atheist, but really, I mean, if you understand science, you have to be able to say, well, they could be right. Maybe all the other data we have is wrong and has been lied to. You have to give that as a philosophical point. But at this point, even if they're right, I just don't care. I don't want to hear it anymore. I literally don't care anymore. They think it's very important, but here's the truth about me. I grew up in I don't know, there wasn't a lot of religion early on, but by the time I was like 8 or 9, my parents were pushing religion on us. Background was King James Bible on one side and Presbyterian Calvinist on another. And I grew up in the 70s, and even then all the adults around me were like, there is no real conflict between evolution and the Bible. So none of the adults in my life growing up cared that much about it. I eventually decided I didn't believe the Bible anyway, so I didn't care. But then over the years, I had more than one young Earth creationist approach me when I was an atheist or just an agnostic unbeliever and try to convince me that the Earth was 7,000 years old and that the tale of Genesis matched perfectly, chronologically and scientifically, exactly what had happened. And they would bring this to me, and they would want to argue with me about it, and they would strong arm me into reading some materials, and I would watch creationists debate with atheists. And I hated watching creationists debate with atheists, because the atheists were idiots and lost more often than they won. But that just made me think, wow, these atheists are morons who don't know how to have a proper debate. And the creationists, what I thought at the time, this isn't an accusation, this is literally what I thought. I thought the creationists have read this book a certain way and have decided to try to make the facts meet it. They're not open-minded. They're just going to always go back to their assumption of their 7,000-year-old Earth or whatever it is, because they've already made up their minds, and they've tried to make it fit to their book. A book at the time I thought was a fairy book. So, but the bottom line is I had multiple creationists try to bring me to God and try to bring me to Jesus by convincing me that this tale of evolution is not true. And I can tell you that every single time I heard that, it backfired on me and made me think Christians were insane. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of atheists like that now. Creationists, even if you're right, you may be driving people away anyway, because there's so many other ways of reading the Bible that even me as a believing, someone who eventually came around, the evidence convinced me there had to be a God. After further investigation, the evidence convinced me that there had to be a Jesus and that the resurrection had to have happened. I've come to accept the evidence on this. But like the creationist debates just drove me away from the whole religion and made me want to have nothing to do with it. And I would see a creationist coming, and even to this day, I kind of have that attitude. Oh my God, he's coming to me. He's going to try and convince me that his reading of Genesis is the scientific account of reality. And I just want to run. I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. And I'm prepared to admit up front, the young earth creationists may be right, and I just may be too brainwashed by what I was taught growing up. I literally don't care anymore, guys. I wish y'all would find something else to debate. I really do. I have a few books that I put in the low bar, and then we're going to talk about it as a group. See Genesis and Creation by Michael Heiser. I believe he's some kind of Protestant, but Injun recommended him. It was either Brass or Robert who recommended Tremper Longman III's How to Read Genesis. My own recommendations are Bishop Barron on Misreading Genesis. This is a Catholic bishop who goes into it. He gives a very beautiful read of Genesis too. So even if you're Protestant, I think you'll like his way of explaining how to approach Genesis. Unless you're a young earth creationist, in which case you'll just get mad at him. But I mean, it's still a very beautiful read. And one other thing, please look for this book, Genesis and the Big Bang Theory, The Discovery of Harmony Between Modern Science and the Bible. I got this recommendation from a friend who's an astrophysicist named Sarah Salviander. She says his stuff is perfect. It matches everything she knows as an astrophysicist who studies supermassive black holes 7 billion years out. That's what she does as an astrophysicist. And she says Gerald Schrader's right on the money, or Schroeder. He's Jewish, by the way, Orthodox Jewish, I believe. Will tell you that the book of Genesis matches perfectly the 14 billion year universe and the age of the earth and the rise of evolutionary forces bringing man. He'll tell you how that matches Genesis perfectly. I actually don't particularly want to debate him either. If you're a young earth creationist and you want to go debate Gerald Schroeder, have fun. I can't think of a single topic that interests me less spiritually at this point. Really and truly, all this debate did was make it harder for me to become a Christian because it was such a massive annoyance and distraction. I literally don't care anymore how anybody reads Genesis. I really don't. If you come to me and say Genesis proves that, the earth is really 100 years old, I'm like, okay. Genesis proves anything. I don't want to hear it anymore because I've been ruined by the endless creationist versus atheist debates, and ruined by all the atheists who come up to me and start mocking me for my creationist beliefs and demanding that I explain the creationists and that I do something about the creationists. Or worst of all, the horrible atheist jerkwads who say, yes, you are. You don't know science. You believe in a 6,000 years old earth. Oh my God, it's so horrible. Atheists, when you start talking about creationism, that's another reason why you are unpopular as atheists. Let me give that to you again. Atheists, your obsession with creationism is one of the reasons people don't like you. And a lot of people don't like atheists. Most people don't, in fact, according to surveys, still today in 2018. And it's not because you're challenging their beliefs. It's because they literally don't give a shit about this creationist debate. They don't care. You do. It's like a weird jihad you have, Mr. Atheist, to be so obsessed with this This is why I really don't think much of, like Paulo G is out there, and he and his girlfriend seem like nice enough people, but their obsession with this is actually offensive. After you've had your third or fourth run at taking apart the creationists, do you ever go and find somebody smarter than this? Here, like I've mentioned, here's a Catholic, here's a Jew, a really smart Orthodox Jew. Here's an astrophysicist. Go talk to her. Here's another guy with a PhD who spent his whole life studying the Bible, going over how to address things like Genesis, not young earth creationists. All these things. Here's a Catholic bishop going into how stupid it is to read Genesis like a science text and as if it's a literal perfect accounting of the biological events and processes. All these incredibly smart sources and more, all the most learned Christians could tell you all these things. And there you guys are still worrying about the creationists. I've had enough. At this point, I kind of want young earth creationism in my science class just to give the finger to atheists who think they're the science defenders. They're so nasty. They're so hateful. And by the way, atheists routinely misexplain and misrepresent the contemporary field of evolutionary biology, including, by the way, guys like King Crocoduck. Just misrepresent what contemporary evolutionary biologists are all about. There is nothing good about the creationism versus atheist debates. They don't help science. They don't help religion. They don't help society. They don't do anything but give obsessive autistics something to fight about. That's what I think. I open the floor to further discussion. Or did I say it all there and we'll all just go home? Robert, what do you think?
I feel like the whole creationism versus atheist evolution, so to say, it's all it's done is just fueled one extreme to another. Like how fascism fuels communism and communism fuels fascism. Same with creation versus evolution. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, I think it's a lot of that is happening simply because organized movement atheism literally prefers these creationist versus evolutionist debates, because it actually winds up putting the atheist on an equal field, like he's at least as smart as the religious person. And the problem is, mind you, there's some wicked smart creationists, but the atheists usually have very little to offer, actually. They usually have very little to offer. Someone I saw who did a better job, I've mentioned her before, Lynn Margulis, she's brilliant. She was an atheist, actually, and she debated creationists, too, but she was way more interesting because she actually knows evolutionary biology way better than guys like Richard Dawkins do. So she was interesting to watch. But, really, most of the time, these are just dumb arguments. They're dumb. Especially when it's coming out of someone like Ken Ham or Kent Hovind. They're just dumb. Have you noticed? Injun, what do you think?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robert.
Ken Hovind has done more for the atheism movement than than Richard Dawkins, in my opinion, or Sam Harris, or Chris Hitchens.
I'm convinced some of these guys actually are atheist plants. I don't know if Ken Hovind is in particular or Ken Ham is, but I'm pretty sure some people arguing for creationists are actually atheists who are out there trying to, start this stupid fight because they know how dumb it seems to most people.
They like the anti-theists like to kick around the retard and boast that they beat up the whole classroom, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not saying every young earth creationist is stupid. Like I said, a few are really smart, but a lot of them are really dumb. And they bring dumb arguments. And they seem willing to accept this proposition that if you can disprove young earth creationism, you've disproved the Bible. And that's just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous on about 50 levels at once. Not least of which is the fact is the evidence we have is that the people who wrote and interpreted this Bible for years, yes, some of them thought it was literal years, but there was always someone who thought that. But
no, but your Bible says the world is 6,000 years old.
There have been variant readings of Genesis since before Christ, which don't take a literal view of these things. Some of them are very spiritual and insightful, and they don't take a literal view. Go ahead.
They get that because of the genealogies between Adam and Noah, but I got a little secret for you.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know about this, but the number of years they supposedly lived were stylistic numbers, like that of the Sumerian kings list before the flood. Those kings, yeah. But have you noticed that the 15 of the 20 individuals from Adam to Noah were ended in multiples of 5, with the rest of them being 2 and 7?
No, I never noticed that. So you're saying they're evenly spaced out and ending in
No,
5?
they were stylistic numbers basically, but like Enoch, for instance, the number of years he supposedly lived was the amount of years in a solar year, and it had to do, and his Sumerian counterpart was associated with the sun.
I have read accounts that suggested those genealogies actually represent peoples and tribes. I'm sure
Yeah, they
somebody else
like
heard that and say no. I don't want to argue about it. Go ahead.
like I tend to think those individuals from Adam to Enoch anyway. I tend to think Enoch was Krishna, but anyway, those other individuals, they were probably Paleolithic cavemen and Neolithic farmers, separated by tens of thousands of years, with the last few individuals being Mesolithic or Neolithic farmers, or any individual who changed the world in some way, like invented big game hunting and stuff like that.
I tell you what, D.H. Planck makes a great point. He says, thing is, the creationists led the charge they did because the idea that atheism kind of had an agenda. And you're right. And actually, if you go into it, you'll find the history even of the Scopes monkey trial, that we all saw that movie, Inherit the Wind, that the whole thing was more or less of a propaganda project by early cultural Marxists. Because not that many people had ever been into the creationism versus evolution thing to begin with. They really weren't. There really wasn't that much widespread protest against evolution. It was mostly ginned up. And I mean, I can tell you that in Catholic schools, because I've talked to people who are there, while the Scopes monkey trial was happening, the Catholic schools were already quietly teaching evolution and wondering what all the fuss was about. You know, and this is going to have been true in other religious schools too. This was a fight that ideological atheists, i.e. cultural Marxists in most cases, picked. They wanted this fight, and they keep having this fight over and over and over again. And it's because they want to serve the narrative of Christians who are anti-science and stupid and primitive. That's what they want to keep doing. This is also why atheists are so obsessed with this when they're not obsessed with, I don't know, witchcraft, astrology, tarot, fortune telling, all that stuff. You know, they're always worried about, because there's people in government doing all that stuff, sometimes in high office, and nobody says a word, and they think that's just their thing. But somebody gets Christian on you, and they're suddenly dangerous. It's all part of a narrative. A cultural Marxist narrative that, by the way, many libertarians play into. So yeah, it's a fight they constantly want to have, and it's something that I wish more Christians would just say, you know what, that's a tar baby. I'm not interested. I'm really not, because you know, you can't rule out the possibility of a 7,000-year-old Earth and that everything else we know we've been lied to, or deceived, or just been confused. Maybe
It's just a mountain of evidence. It's the mountain of evidence against it.
Yeah,
you know, I rank it just about on the probability of, you know, we all been lied to about the shape of the Earth. I pretty much rank it on that level.
On the other hand, we have these nut job fundamentalist atheists, like, let's say, a godless engineer. Literally, I remember having him on a stream, and he really upset me because he was just being so horrible, awful. Literally, at one point, I remember him asking me, you know, if I believe in evolution. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. You believe it or don't you? I'm like, well, you know, 99% sure, you know. I believe it 100%. Like I had said something wrong. Like I had.
He asked you if you believed the world was round.
Yeah, he might have asked me that too. And it's like, does he not know how to think? Yes, I believe the Earth is round, and yes, I believe in evolution. I also know that I could be wrong about these things. Don't
Max, you don't believe the Earth is flat?
Godless engineers lurking in the comment section, I bet, right now, or the chat.
I actually banned him and asked him never to come back if he's not prepared to apologize and retract his absurd claims about my child. I'm going to have to find him and ban him again. So if you see him, let me know. That man went way past the bounds of anything civil there. These people and his friends, any of these people spreading this narrative that it is child abuse to teach your child to defend himself and his beliefs.
Apparently, he thinks you're indoctrinating your kid into hating atheists.
Specifically in the video, it said, are we supposed to hate atheists? No. So I made it really clear, and I tell him never to hate atheists. Just don't believe them, because they lie, and they say things like, there's no evidence for God. That's always a lie anytime anyone says it, Mr. Atheist, Mr. Godless Engineer. Every time you say there's no evidence for a God, you're lying, sir. And I want everybody to know that, not just my child. There's evidence. The only question is whether you find the evidence convincing or not, and you're not the avatar of science, and you definitely don't, as atheists, get to tell the rest of us what to teach our kids. Stay away from our kids, you atheist creeps, and Godless Engineers, stay off this channel. I'm serious. If I find you again, I'll ban you again, and I'll get a restraining order against you if I have to. I mean it. Get away until you're ready to apologize and leave my kid alone, you and all your friends. Anyway, but he was treating it like literally, like, I know it's true. I'm like, really? You just know? You've gone and, I didn't say it, but I'm like, how can you do that to somebody? Confront them as if they are heretics who need to be smited if they don't believe in evolution. That would make me want to become I mean, when I had that conversation with him, I was tempted to say, you know what? You've changed my mind. I'm now a young earth creationist. When somebody is that nasty and so that intolerant and that hateful and that, convinced of their rightness, crap, I'm ready to believe that, in the thunder gods and the Norse gods came in and it was Freya vomiting that made the earth. I'll believe that before I believe evolution if atheists are going to be that way about evolution. As a bullying tactic is what I'm saying, is what they do. Nobody's required to believe anything. You understand what I'm saying?
Evolution is kind of an inescapable fact by now.
I guess it really just depends on what you mean by it. It really does depend. I mean, we've known that we've had heritability and change over time. We've known that for thousands of years. And nobody's disputed that heritability and change over time are real. So what is left to argue about except the fine details? The biggest thing that bothers me is I don't care if people believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. Tell me what bad happens as a result of that that's worse than the result in, let's say, believing in astrology, which a lot of people do. Why is that worse? Because science education will be stopped? I don't think so. I'm sorry. I've met too many scientists who are young Earth creationists. They're not stupid and they can still do science. In fact, I'd like some kind of proof that the anti-creationist jihad, because a holy war is what it is, the anti-creationist jihad of the atheists. I want any evidence whatsoever in the last 30 years that it's done anything to improve science education whatsoever.
They had a field day with that ark.
Oh, whatever, man. I don't care about the freaking ark. What are they about now?
No, this Creation Museum had that ark.
Oh.
Hey, you know what? We have lots of evidence that there was a great flood in history. We have lots of evidence of that.
Well, yeah, but not the global flood, but it was local flood. Like, there are two possible floods which the Bible and other cultures were talking about. Like, it was either the Black Sea region, like 7,000 years ago or something, and then there was another. And then there was another one that flooded not only the Persian Gulf, but parts of India and East Africa caused by a meteor, like 2800 BC.
Yeah, and something like Noah's Ark may have literally existed. It's getting the spiritual message that's important here. There's no reason to even believe that the people then were being that literal.
Yeah, but how come there's still penguins and kangaroos and stuff? How did they get on the ark? And how did they get all the way to the Arctic in Australia?
Yeah, well, if you insist on reading it as literally as possible, then I guess you've got a problem with that question. since I don't read it that literally, I literally don't know what to make of these people. We know there was a flood.
Polar bears, how did they get to the Middle East?
Oh yeah, and did
Maybe.
they get did they get every kind of insect on the ark, and did they get every species of lizard, and every species of bird, and every species of land animal? How big was that ark? Blah blah blah. These autistic questions. I know if our friend Buckley, who's autistic, is listening, he'll laugh because he knows these are autistic questions. You're just focused totally in the wrong direction. Like, really? So he went through and he categorized, and oh, I've got this many Indian elephants, and I've got this many African elephants, and I've got this many pygmy elephants, and I've got this many of this species of horse, and that species of horse, and that antelope, and that one, and that one, and all these bugs, and all these birds. What are you, insane? That's not what the tale is about. It's really not. I mean,
I mean, I was wondering, like, how did Noah stop himself from squashing the 2 cockroaches that he had to inevitably bring on board?
Oh yeah, there has to have been only 2 cockroaches. Plus, I guess if we trace the genetic legacy of every animal walking around, we must be able to pinpoint it to what, maybe roughly 2,000 years before Christ, because all their other ancestors were destroyed. That is not how you read the Bible, guys. Just stop it. Ah, it's so autistic and retarded. Stop it, please.
It's just silly. I mean, the 7 days, they were meant to celebrate the inauguration of the temple.
Well,
for the Sabbath.
Every one of those days has spiritual and supernatural meanings. I don't necessarily have it all because, again, we ought to ask somebody like Sarah Salviander to come in here. She says Genesis is her favorite book of the Bible, plus she's an astrophysicist. Maybe I should reach out to her and see if I can get her to come give her read, because honestly, I can think of no topic I like less.
Atheism?
Creationism. Creationists, can't you find something else to do? Can't you just say maybe we're the wrong ones and it's not that important?
Well, I plan on getting into all that, how the Bible fits into history and all that in my upcoming series when I get more subscribers.
Excellent.
Yeah, and please note this, I was reading some more, I was looking at some of Ken Hoban's videos, and please note this, he's a freaking idiot.
No.
Even if you're a young Earth creationist, you should still be embarrassed by him. In fact, I know young Earth creationists that are still embarrassed by him.
Like, I saw
he's even stupid. He's even stupid compared to other young Earth creationists.
I watched his debate with Aaron Raw. It's like watching 2 biased, pompous know-it-alls.
Dude guy says atheists are inherently passive-aggressive. They make tons of claims attacking Christian beliefs while asserting they aren't asserting. They claim they aren't making claims. And Dude Guy plus everybody else listening, there's your clue. When the atheist is being obnoxious, you realize he's not confused. He's up his own butt. And once you realize he's up his own butt and not there for a conversation, your best response is to start getting skeptical of everything he comes out of his mouth. And to start noticing atheists make claims all the time. They all do it. They all do it constantly. And they get really mad and defensive when you call them out on their claims, which is why you should do it to them at every opportunity. Makes the claim that the Bible says the earth is 6,000 years old. Really? I got one by a physicist here who says the 14 billion year universe and the 4 billion year old match perfectly with Genesis. Why are you reading it like a retard when he's not? That's what I.
Hugh Ross is good with that too.
Hugh Ross is another good one. Who are you to say? Really? Who are you to say, and who are you to tell us what to believe? I don't think Hugh Ross has any respect at all for Ken Hovind.
No one does.
And it's also inspiring philosophy.
Sure, he's brilliant.
Very smart.
Who's John Lennox, the mathematician from Oxford? Quite brilliant.
I don't know if he's
wasn't he an evolution denier or something?
I don't know if he accepts evolution fully, because he had trouble believing. Because I believe he had a problem accepting that Adam and Eve were not literal people.
Who are you talking about? John Lennox?
John Lennox. Yeah.
It's possible he might. I don't.
Well, Adam and Eva could have been real people, but they would have lived 50,000 years ago, and they definitely wouldn't have been the first humans.
It really depends It really depends on the assumptions you make looking at these things. There was something remarkable that changed in humans.
And they definitely weren't. And they definitely weren't white. We just got to dispel that myth.
Well, yeah, the white thing is just ridiculous. We can go into, when did humans actually become modern man as we think? And I think there's something to the idea that, we wound up coming out of some animals in some way, but that winds up being another discussion entirely. I gotta say, honestly, somebody should be free to think these things. That there was that human beings were a special creation. There's evidence for that too. Or that something influenced our evolution external. There's evidence for that too. You can't just throw all that out.
You know what I find funny about this whole thing too, though? It's the funniest thing, like when you read Young Earth Creationist Apologetics, and some of them will actually use the fine-tuning argument, unaware that a lot of the fine-tunings are completely dependent on the fact that the Earth being billions of years old. I mean, the universe being billions of years old.
Yeah, exactly.
It just, I mean,
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just stupid overall with watching like Kent Hovind and Aaron Raw, because really the entire thing was just them disagreeing over like how, a tree and like, I don't know, some sort of lizard or something are related.
Eukaryotes. Like every time he kept saying, try taking a drink every time he said pine tree. Like a squirrel on a pine tree or an elephant in a pine tree. Like, Aaron Raw, are you drunk?
And he called that a religious belief. To believe, it's just, it was just a big hour or so or nothing.
It's such a pointless debate. It winds up drawing in a certain type of Christian who's very well-meaning and very naive and thinks he can just explain this and doesn't know that he's frequently dealing with people who are not honest on the other side.
Then there's that other kind of debate where everybody just ends up agreeing on everything. Like Sygart and Crocoduck ended up agreeing like 90% of the time.
Well, I think Crocoduck did that on purpose, but whatever.
And the people were admitting that they like drama in the comments. Like, come on, where's your disagreements at?
All right. See, now there is that. See, and I can never decide because lately I've been saying I'm going to try and get nicer. I really have. I'm trying to swear less. I'm trying to be nicer more. Enough people have told me I need to calm down and that I've made my point, so I'm listening. I'm trying really hard. At the same time, I have to point out one of the reasons the Red Pill Religion Project chose a provocative tone is because we know a lot of the audience likes that drama and likes that kind of Jerry Springer approach.
Jerry.
And all these atheists are popular just because they're snotty. And so actually, I know that's why we upset them. We're snotty to them and the way they're snotty to others, and they don't like it. But I am trying to get nicer. I really am. Man, it's been my sin. Maybe I need to stop and cool it down, or maybe that old nasty tone was necessary at one point and not needed now. But man, I don't know. When all I see is when I still get pelted on a regular basis with people wanting me to defend or explain creationism and talking like I have to be a young earth creationist to be a Christian or a proper Christian, and that I can't believe in evolution, I just get filled with anger. And I remember how people who talked like that kept me away from Christ, to be honest with you. And I don't feel I have to be bound to anybody's particular reading of Genesis.
This whole thing is just a horrible distraction for what really matters.
It really, really is. I mean, maybe if you grew up in a community where, you're a hardcore sola scriptura, King James Bible only, and it threatens you to think that somehow that might not be all a perfect literal representation of scientific events, but it doesn't challenge me, and it doesn't challenge most people as far as I'm concerned. If you know that God is in command of the laws of physics and probability, it really doesn't matter how he gets these things done. It just doesn't. I will go on record. I think Adam and Eve were probably real people. But you know what? It's another conversation because I just, again, I'm going to go back to, and why do I have to defend that? Why?
But they weren't the first humans, and they lived 50,000 years or more ago.
You can believe that if you want. I refuse to argue with you about it. I've read some stuff that would say you're wrong, and you know what? Don't care. Just can't make myself care enough. It's like the whole conversation has been ruined for me at this point by anybody. It's been ruined for me. And Genesis, by all accounts, is a very interesting book if you read it right, but it's been ruined for me every time. We get so much autistic retardery going about trying to prove this, that, or the other thing.
And trying to disprove this or that or the other thing.
Hey, wait. Hey, guys, I got iron-proof logic for the young Earth creationist. If the universe is billions of years old, then why are we only in 2018?
Oh God, who asked that?
Yeah. That reminds me of that dumbass preacher, ex-preacher who became an atheist because Jay wasn't spoken at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty bad argument because the calendar dates from Jesus' birth.
It's
Anno Domini, year of our Lord.
People will pick whatever weird excuse they want. I sometimes feel some sorrow for somebody who came up in a fundamentalist background because they have this belief that the Bible has to be self-explanatory.
That's what most anti-theists are. Former fundamentalists. That explains their behavior and their psychology very well.
Either that or ex-Catholic.
Well, the ex-Catholics usually had a crap education and poor catechesis and are still working out their daddy issues.
Oh yeah, poor little me. I went to Catholic school. I'm an atheist, but I'm still in Catholic school. Oh, poor me.
Oh, and the nuns were mean to me. And I had 12 years of theological training. I've heard them try and pull that line because you went to a crap Catholic school and didn't get a very good theology education or didn't pay much attention.
Some give me that same line I heard before. That I was a preacher for 30 years, man. 30 years.
Oh,
now it's fairy tale bullshit.
Who did you get your education from, sir? That'd be my question. Go ahead.
What is a T-Rex's favorite thing to eat?
What?
Watermelon.
Lame.
I don't get it.
Young Earth creationist.
Okay.
They believe that, before the fall, dinosaurs didn't eat meat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I got it. It was pretty lame.
They must have eaten.
Some anti-theistic evolutionists insist that think that the fact that dinosaurs were more bird-like than we imagine them to be is somehow a threat to them.
Well, that's the thing, and their claim is that if you allow young Earth creationism to even be thought about or acknowledge that they might have a point about anything, the children will not be able to learn science properly. Well, the problem is I've been hearing that for 20 years. There's very little creationism in the schools, and science illiteracy is at an all-time high. Please present the peer-reviewed studies which show that being exposed to young Earth creationist ideas make people incapable of doing science. I want to see those studies. You know what? They don't exist. And if anything, it turns out, you know who your best kids in science education are? They're creaming it all over the places and have been for years at science fairs as well as spelling bees and everything else. Christian kids who are homeschooled just run away with science science fair prizes and do great when they go into the sciences, even if they came from a young Earth creationist background. There is literally no proof I can find anywhere that young Earth creationism is genuinely dangerous. I asked Paulogia or Crocoduck right now publicly, find me the peer reviews. Please prove the extraordinary claim that young Earth creationism is dangerous to science. And please present the peer-reviewed studies which show that exposure to young Earth creationism in any way makes children unable to do science. I want to see what the proof for that claim is. I
Well,
also
it's not.
I want to
It's
know
not.
why these people aren't fighting other forms of weird spiritual beliefs every bit as fervently.
It's not dangerous. It's just a terrible idea. That's that you
I was
know.
gonna say, in many ways, it's worse that kids don't get exposed to science at all than even creationism. Because say what you want about the Creation Museum, it at least it's exposing them to dinosaurs and whatnot.
The kids got to get exposed to ideas they don't agree with or that are dodgy.
You get
You
a lot
have
of
to be able,
T-Rex.
yeah, you have to be able to
Oh,
expose weird
oh yeah,
ideas.
you know that T-Rex was more bird-like than the flying dinosaurs.
Really? I could believe it.
Really?
But
Look
Yeah,
like a
it
chicken.
had those tiny arms.
Like the T-Rex was kind of like a roadrunner from hell, and
Oh, really?
the flying dinosaurs were more reptilian than most others.
Oh, really? I can believe that. I can believe that. I
It's a
mean,
good thing Colonel Sanders didn't live millions of years ago, or else the dinosaurs would have gone extinct much sooner.
yeah, no, I think what's actually happened is that ideologues, mostly cultural Marxist ideologues, have convinced us that science is a replacement for a religion. And that's why they also like any kind of religion versus science debate. It's inherently dishonest. Religion
Well, yeah,
gave
people have been predicting this since the 19th century that science would replace God or something.
but it can't because a sure understanding of God makes that impossible. God's what's running the laws of physics and probability, people, and we've thought it for thousands of years. This is not a new Christian innovative idea. God's running the laws of physics. God's running the laws of probability. God is math and logic. Deal with it. It's why Christians are so inherently good at science. Those don't just fall into a primitive reading of things. All right, have we said all we needed to say? Did anybody have anything else they wanted to get out?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to watch a good documentary on the young Earth creationism, just watch the Flintstones.
Robert, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, not really. Other than like I said, going back to my idea, or not my idea, the idea that even if kids are being exposed to creationism, it's still ultimately better than not teaching them science at all. Because part of the reason, when you look historically, part of the reason why science didn't develop anywhere else but Latin Catholic Europe was because many, like the Islamic world and the ancient Greeks, they just didn't invest, in like university systems and science and that help field science. So
Exactly.
you do need that strong structure.
Agreed. Ingen, you got anything else to add?
Hey, you didn't rip into Ken Ham or Ray fucking Comfort.
Well, I think I just mentioned how dumb they are. I don't, and I gave smart choices. I'd rather that Ken Ham and Ray Comfort not even exist. Really, they do nothing but damage with what they do. And I'm actually convinced that atheists give them money and keep them going because they want Christians like that to be popular and to pick up all the. I really think that happens. Call me crazy. Call me a conspiracy nut. All right, everybody. Well, listen. Tomorrow night we got Jason. Jason's finally going to be joining us to talk about the UFO phenomenon. He's an ex-atheist who got tired of the closed down, locked down, narrow-mindedness of the atheist community. So he's that agnostic who does UFO stuff now. I'm looking forward to bringing him in. On Wednesday we're going to have John Wright as usual. On Thursday, are we doing the final installment of the Dark Matter 2525?
Well, it'll be final depending if you bring Tiger or not.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully.
We will hopefully on Thursday have the final beatdown of Dark Matter 2525. We do in fact continue to mark all of our videos as Creative Commons. We encourage you to download them, mirror them, and put them up anywhere else. Because
Bless you.
I'm going to mute people because there are always efforts to censor us and always efforts to take us out. That's why we give our material away free of charge. By the way, if anybody wants to help me start a torrent feed for these things, I could use a volunteer to help that. I want to put all of our videos out that way so that people can always get them and they can't be censored off of YouTube, as has happened to others. All right, everybody, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Please tell your friends or enemies. We will be back here tomorrow, as we are every night.